All right, gentlemen, welcome. So let's see. So some announcements and updates. So I had students from earlier brought to my attention about exam 2 with the interactive figures. So what I ended up doing for those, I removed those questions from the exam. So like I think that exam had like 27 questions. There were 10 of those that had those interactive figures, so I just removed them. So like if you basically worked on everything else, it essentially gave you credit for those questions that had interactive figures. I just removed them, so you got credit for them. Um, and if you go back and do it, those won't pop up. So it's like it's as if they never existed. Uh, let me suppress my audio real quick. So I went on to calculated midterm, or I pulled the raw data for your midterms grade. I had to calculate it and load it into Blackboard so you can see what I see on my end. We'll talk about that more on Wednesday, so that like if you see something is missing, let me get these gentlemen. So if you see something missing, you can like make sure that it gets filled in. We can just make sure things are in order. Also, I want to, as a reminder, we can work on any assignment past the due date, right? So I think exam 2 was due this morning at 9 a.m. You can actually keep working on it. The system is going to show your highest score. Past this, so from this point forward, though, it's a 10% late penalty. So it's like the highest you can make is a 90. And again, if you're just joining, what I ended up doing for those, I know there were a lot of questions that had the interactive figures that just like were not functional. So I removed them from the exam, right? So if you go back, your score should have improved. Like if you did the whole exam and messed up on those, you skipped those, your score would improve. And you can actually still go back and work on it. If you go back and work on it now, then they just won't pop up. I just removed those questions because they were giving me a hard time as well, and I realized it, but the exam was already made. So I think we found a working solution again, where everybody essentially got credit for those questions. So today we've been going through section 2.1. I created a video earlier. There's like a long kind of gap in the middle of it, but I did create a video. Oh, this isn't displaying properly. Let's get this working. I did go ahead and make a video for section 2.1, so I'm going to rely on that. Like I expect you to kind of watch it on your own. So what we're going to be doing now is working through the homework for section 2.1. And 2.1 is regarding like quadratic functions, right? So I'm just going to hop over there and pull that up. If you have questions, comments, or concern, if you're, if you have questions about things, you can type it in the chat, and we can use that. And again, my recommendation, it is a good idea to link up with the tutors. You can work on these assignments with the tutors. You can work together. It's totally okay. It'll be fine. I do want you to kind of be aware at some point, you're going to have to you will have to show, okay, well, this is how you do this. Like at some point, you're going to have to show that you know how to do this stuff. But for right now, just do what you need to do. It's okay. And if you are going back, because I had some students that just got full access and things of that nature. If you're going back and doing makeup work, the order of priority, you want to do your exams first. The exams are the least amount of work and the most amount of points. So the exams are worth 80% of your grade, approximately. Once you've gotten your exams where you like them to be, right now we've only had 2 exams, exam 1 and exam 2. Once you've gotten your exams to where you like them to be, then I would go back and work on the quizzes. The quizzes, I think I usually do about 5 questions a week. And so that's 10% of your grade, approximately. And then the homework is approximately 10% And so the homework is a lot of work with the least amount of points. So I don't want you to stress too much about the homework. Do the best you can with it. But the thing that you definitely want to have in order, if you don't do anything else, is you definitely want to have your exams in order. Exam 3 is going to be similar to exams 1 and 2, and then the final. We'll talk more about the final as we get closer to it, because it's a common final exam, and so it's a little bit different than what we've been doing. But yeah, we'll talk about it as we get closer. So again, what we're doing here, we're starting on the homework for section 2.1. With my students earlier, we kind of went through the material for section 2.1, so I'm going to rely on that video. All right, you have to kind of watch it. It's on my YouTube. It is a good idea, at least while you're my student, to be subscribed to my YouTube channel with your notifications turned on. So that way, whenever I do go live or I post things, you'll get a notification, just so you're aware. You don't necessarily have to chime in at that time. It's just so that you can be aware, right? Okay. So section 2.1 is regarding quadratic functions, right? So we're going to go further in depth on like some concepts regarding quadratics. I think in the past we talked about like transformations. So, you know, how when we manipulate the functions or the formulas, how it transforms the graph. So we're going to explore some other concepts here that are similar. So this first question comes from section 2.1, question number 1, where X identify the graph of the following quadratic. So we can use transformation of functions here to find this, right? So for instance, the base function is a parabola, y equals x squared. We multiply the outside by a number between 0 and 1. So that's going to cause a vertical smush or a vertical compression. And then we multiply the outside by a negative, so that flips it vertically, right? So we're expecting a U-shaped graph that's been smushed vertically and flipped top to bottom. So the only one that does that is C, right? It can't be A or D because they're opening the wrong way. And then B looks like it moved up, which is, we didn't move up or down or anything. We just flipped it top to bottom. So the only one that looks proper is C. That's using transformations from chapter 1. I think this next one also does transformations, right? So the base function or the parent function is y equals x squared. So the first transformation that we want to identify is we have this plus 1, which is inside the base function, right? So that means it's going to cause a horizontal change. Let me hide this real quick. It's going to cause a horizontal change. It should move to the left by 1, stretch vertically by a factor of 2, so it gets kind of tall and skinny. We multiply the outside by a negative, so it flips it vertically, right? So it should be a tall and skinny U-shaped graph that's upside down. So that means it can't be B or D. I think C looks like it moved to the right by 1, which is the wrong direction. It should move to the left by 1, so it should be A. Again, that's just using transformations. Let me see what else we got. So another concept, now we can still do transformations with this one, but today we also introduced this concept of like, this is called the standard form of the equation of a parabola. This is like the a times x minus h squared plus k. So the h and the k, which is the 7 and the negative 2, those are the coordinates of the vertex of the parabola. So this basically is saying that the vertex is at 7, negative 2. So it's just a U-shaped graph where the vertex, basically we go right 7 and down 2. So that puts us in the quadrant 4, and it looks like D is the only one that did that. Went right 7 and down 2. I think C is the wrong orientation. It's upside down, right? We didn't multiply the outside by a negative at all. So it should be D. So, I mean, we essentially just use transformations there. Let's try some more. We can still do transformations here as well. Yeah, if you're let me let the student in. If you're joining late, you should. I know there were some questions that had like the interactive figures. So what I did, I basically removed them. So if you just do the other questions, you get credit for those. Right? Can you hear me? Hello, hello. Okay, hang on. Go ahead. Go ahead. Yeah. How's it going? Mm, yeah. I've addressed that already. Like so yeah, I know there were a lot of questions that had interactive figures. I just removed them and I gave everybody credit for them. That's the short and simple. So I yeah, it's available, and it's only a 10% late penalty. So it's there. Yeah. Okay. So I'm gonna hide this. Let's go here. Okay. So yeah. Um. Yeah. I mean, honestly, like if you're maxing, like even if you submit those late, and you're like getting 90s on those and it's submitted late, like I factored that in. I know what that score is. Like you know, I don't want you guys to like stress too much about it. Like just kind of get it in there. Like because okay, so for instance, when I've had students submit those assignments late, they kind of like got maxed out everything, right? Everything was like at a perfect score. So then I know what the scores are. So then I make sure that they kind of, I use that to kind of like, okay, well, I'm not gonna like get in their way. I'm not gonna stop them from anything, all right? So everything is there. We've addressed that question because I know those questions were kind of like, you know, it would even give me a hard time. I don't know. I was kind of hoping that y'all would have a different experience, but you didn't. So it's okay. I remove those questions and just get the other ones in, and you can still get an A minus on it if you haven't done so already. And I know it worked because I had some students that they just did everything else, and then when I made those adjustments, some of them got like 98s, and some students got like A's or whatever. Um, okay, let's look at this one. So I'm just going to use transformations as just a simple thing here. But this is a quadratic in standard form. Standard form is a times x minus h squared plus k, where the h and the k are the coordinates of the vertex. But I'm just going to use transformations here. So the base function is a U-shaped graph. This says to go left 3, stretch vertically by a factor of 2, flip it upside down, and go down 4. So if we go left 3 and down 4, we should be in quadrant 3, and we should be upside down. So the only one that does that is B. The only one that does that is B. My dog is sitting here looking so pitiful. She like has a little mat by her food and she's laying on it. Like I was like, okay, I get it. You're hungry. She wants some more food, so I get it some more. It's not a big deal. Let's see. Find a quadratic function of this form that passes through this point, right? So they give us an x and a y. We need to solve for a. So when x is 3, 3 squared is 9. 36 divided by 9 is 4. So it looks like A is 4. Right? I just didn't write that one out because, it looks simple enough. I just plugged in the X and the Y. Let me make sure. Let me get this student. And then, yeah, just do the best you can with those midterms. And again, another thing about the midterm, it's not anything definitive. It's just a gauge of where you are at this moment in time, right? So anything can still happen from this point going forward. And I see all the different, you know, like you can be at the bottom and finish at the top. You could be at the top and fall off. You could be at the top and stay at the top. You could be at the bottom and stay at the bottom. Like all of those scenarios generally happen. Um, but yeah, let me submit this and let's keep moving. Okay. And again, you definitely want to go and watch the video corresponding to this section. I kind of did it earlier today. If you're just joining, I know in exam 2, there were like several questions that just were not working properly. So I basically just gave everybody credit for those. If you try to go back and do the exam, those questions aren't there. And if you've already submitted the exam, it just gave you credit for it. So, because I'm aware of those questions that were just kind of being onerous or like not cooperative. Find a quadratic function that has this vertex that passes through this point and write the function in standard form. Okay. So let's do the following. This is question what? This is question number 6. This comes from section 2.1, question 13. It says that it has the vertex as the origin, and it passes through to negative 16. Okay. Let's see. We're asked to find it in standard form. Okay. Let's hop over to the tablet and let's see our notes. Okay. All right. So standard form of a quadratic function, right, is going to be this. So we have this f of x equals a times x minus h squared plus k. Right? That's a standard form of an equation of a quadratic, where the h comma k are the coordinates of the vertex, right? So they gave us the vertex in this case. So this is our h, this is our k. We want it passing through this point, so this is our x and this is our y. Hey, thank you. I know. Lay down. No. She's looking out the window. She wants to bark at anything moving out there. She's so funny. Okay. So let's plug in what we got, right? We got that y is negative 16, so we can put the negative 16 here. They didn't give us a, so we're going to just bring that down. X is 2, h is 0, and k is 0. Okay? So then if we solve, 2 minus 0 is 2, squared is 4. So then we get 4a plus 0 is 4a. So then ultimately a equals negative 4. So then the equation of the quadratic in standard form is negative 4x squared, right? Because if h is 0, k is 0, and a is negative 4, this is where we finish. Okay. So we're going to notice when x is 0, y is 0. When x is 2, 2 squared is 4. 4 times negative 4 is negative 16. So let's try this here. Let's go like this. Here, like that. Okay. So we got negative 4x squared. Okay. Let's try another one. Same deal. The vertex is 2, 1, passing through 3, 3. Okay. So this is, let me take some notes. This is question number 7. We got some people. Okay. Okay. So this comes from section 2.1, question 17. It says that the vertex is 2, 1, and it's passing through 3, 3. Okay. We actually find this in standard form. Okay. Let's hop here like this. Okay. Okay, standard form of equation of a quadratic is f of x equals a times x minus h squared plus k. So the vertex is our h comma k. Those are the coordinates of the vertex. And passing through this point, so this is our x and this is our y. So if we plug these components in, the corresponding components in, y is 3, a is what we're trying to find, x is 3, h is 2, and k is 1. All right, if we keep going, 3 minus 2 is a 1, 1 squared is 1, 1 times a is a, so then we get a plus 1. Subtract 1 on both sides and a equals 2. So then our claim is that the quadratic in standard form is going to be 2 times x minus 2 squared plus 1. This is the standard form of the equation of a quadratic. Okay. And we need to verify that our points work. So for instance, when x is 2, the answer should be 1. So let's see. So when x is 2, so then 2 minus 2 is 0. So all of this is gone, and the answer is 1. Okay. Okay. And then when x is 3, y should be 3. So then 3 minus 2 is 1. 1 squared is 1. 2 times 1 is 2. 2 plus 1 is 3. Okay. So let's submit this on Pearson. Let me see if I go like this. Will that work? Cool. So then we get 2 times, we get this x minus 2, quantity squared, plus 1. Okay. Determine the quadratic function of this form whose graph is given on the right. Okay, so standard form. All right, so they give us the vertex and a point on the graph. So let me take some notes. This is basically a repeat. This is another way of kind of saying the same thing from before. So for instance, this is question number 8. This comes from section 2.1, question 23. We're given that the vertex is, it looks like it's negative 4 comma 0, and it's passing through we got looks like a negative 3 comma 1. No, lay down. Okay, and then they want the result in standard. Let me see. Yeah, standard form. Okay, let's hop over to the tablet. Let's actually this like this and like this should do it. Cool. Oops. Like this. Okay. Okay, standard form of a quadratic. F of x equals a times x minus h squared plus k. If that's the vertex, this is our h comma k. This is our x comma y. So let's plug in these components. So then y is 1, a, x is what, negative 3, minus h, which is a negative 4. So notice my use of parentheses, and k is 0. Gotta keep track of your negatives there. So double negative becomes positive, so we have negative 3 plus 4, which is 1. 1 squared is 1. So then it looks like ultimately we get a equals 1, right? So then we get f of x equals, so it's going to be x plus 4 squared. I think that's it, because the k is 0. So basically it's a U-shaped graph that's been moved to the left by 4. Let's hop back over to Pearson. A U-shaped graph that's been moved left by 4, right? So we got x plus 4 quantity squared. That was it. Okay. I think the chat is quiet, so I'm going to let that be. Okay, they give us the vertex. They gave us several points. I am going to choose, I'm going to choose the left point this time. Okay, just to see if we can, we definitely need the vertex and then one additional point, all right? Let's see. So this is question number 9. This comes from section 2.1, question 25. We have that the vertex is 2 comma negative 5. And it passes through the, let's say the point, I'm choosing the point 1 comma negative 4. right? And then we want our result in standard form, okay? Stop over here like this. Okay. Standard form of equation of a quadratic is f of x equals a times x minus h squared plus k. This is the vertex. This is our h and our k passing through this x and this y. Okay. So then we get negative 4 equals a times 1 minus 2 squared plus, or I guess in this case it's going to be minus 5. Okay. So then we get negative 4 equals 1 minus 2 is negative 1 squared is 1 times a is just a, so it's going to be a minus 5. We add 5 to both sides, and I think the final result is a 1. So then the standard form that we get is f of x equals 1 times, we got this, what's our h? It's 2. X minus 2 squared minus 5. So it's a U-shaped graph where we went right 2 and down 5. That's it. Okay. Let's hop over here. Determine the quadratic function whose graph is given to the right. X minus 2 squared minus 5. X minus 2 squared minus 5. Okay. We'll do like 1 or 2 more. Graph the given function by writing it in standard form and then using transformations. So, okay. So to get this in standard form, let's do completing the square. Yeah, I think I'm going to do completing the square here. So this is question number 10. This comes from section 2.1. Now there are other ways to go about this. Let's see. So we have this y equals, we got x squared minus 2x. Okay, let's hop over to the tablet. Okay. So the standard form, okay, so we're gonna do completing the square, b over 2 squared, right? So the first thing with standard form, the leading coefficient needs to be a 1, and it is a 1, so we've already accomplished that. So now what we're gonna do, we're gonna add 0 in the form of plus b over 2 squared and minus b over 2 squared. We're gonna say plus b over 2 squared and minus b over 2 squared, right? So in this case, that's going to be plus negative 2 over 2 squared and minus negative 2 over 2 squared, right? Okay, so if we account for those changes, we get x squared minus 2x. Negative 2 divided by 2 is what? Negative 1 squared is 1. So basically what we're doing, we're saying plus 1 and minus 1, right? So now, so we're adding 0, so we're not changing the solution, we're just putting it in a form that we can use. Now we're going to focus on the first 3 terms, right? We should be able to factor those at this point. So then we should be able to factor them into something of this form. That minus 1 is just going to come down. We're looking for 2 numbers that multiply to give us 1 and add to give us negative 2. I think it's going to be negative 1 and negative 1. So it's going to be x minus 1, right? Because negative 1 times negative 1 is 1. Negative 1 plus negative 1 is negative 2, right? So then that's the equation of the quadratic in standard form. Okay. Okay, let's hop back over to Pearson. Okay. So then we get like our y equals parentheses x minus 1 squared minus 1. So what this is saying is that we have a U-shaped graph that goes right 1 and down 1, and then that's it. So we use completing the square to get that. To graph the given function, shift this graph, what, 1 unit to the right, and then 1 unit down. So that's from chapter 1, transformations, right? Okay. So then we have a U-shaped graph. I'm just going to click on the origin. Okay. So then if we list out the transformations, give me a moment. So if we list out the transformations, we said we went to the right by 1, and we went down by 1. I think those are the only two. Let me hit save. Right 1, down 1, right? So the vertex is going to be 1, negative 1. 1, negative 1. Okay. Let's see. All right, guys. So if there aren't any burning questions, we're going to end the session here. And from one beautiful mind to another, enjoy the rest of your day. All right, guys. Take care.